Good morning, episode 352 Morning Minutes with myself, I'm Michael, that's Mark, and special guest, Anne-Mal and Gerda. How are you guys?
Good, guys. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming on again. It's always good talking to you. The Brady Bunch. All right, so this morning we're going to be talking about how, probably off the back of social media, where we're seeing more and more agents working together on deals, but also collaborating together, referring clients to each other, sharing ideas, concept, technology between. And I know you guys and us, a lot of people in the company have really had that relationship for at least probably 2 years now, I would imagine. I think it's been going on 2 years. So I think traditionally a lot of people, especially on the inside and also on the outside looking in, that a lot of agents were quite selfish and they would only look after themselves. There was a bit of a dog-eat-dog world internally in offices, but not to mention externally, they would talk to agents from other companies. But we're seeing a big shift in that, and we can probably thank that to a lot of people like Tom Panos, who brings a lot of agents under one roof, where our relationship sort of stemmed from, but also through social media now as well. So good morning.
Good morning. And I think that is the key with the referrals are sometimes happening without us even knowing, because we are referring to you guys as a brand to trust. A lot of the clients that we have between the two companies are, realizing and being reassured about the fact that, yes, if these guys are working together, that's the caliber of people that we want to associate ourselves with, and it's making their life a lot easier.
Yeah, and basically clients out there, they want more warmer relationships out there. So obviously it's just a trusted advisor thing, as we've seen in the last couple of years.
Because I think people don't like having no relationship. So they're always looking for a warm relationship, even if it is through a third party. People don't like that cold start. Like it's very common in like the tradie industry. It's like, call my plumber John, and it's because it's been referred by someone you already know. You put such a high emphasis and an acceptance and credibility on that person, but the reality is you don't really know them, but you know the other person. So people love that, and I don't think we saw a lot of that in real estate. Mark?
Yeah, I think it's also happening by automation. We don't actually realise. So before you would pick up the phone and ask around, now you've already got that embedded in your head of someone that you're going to use because they're associated with someone you know and trust. And an example of that is, as we just spoke about a client in DY that we had this conversation with you guys about a week or two ago, and then again that was reinforced by you met another client. They said, "Oh yeah, we use the Novaks. We saw you guys were associated." So it's amazing how it's blowing up. It's manifesting sort of relationships and blowing up the old-fashioned way that we used to do business. But I like it.
Absolutely.
Power of social media.
Yeah. It's here to stay, because they can see the authenticity of people that they're dealing with, that we're dealing with, that's what they're getting, which is a powerhouse in itself. And even same thing with, out of state agencies. So we had, for example, last week a client that was a tenant of ours. Rented a prestige property in the district, and they were wanting to have someone of our caliber in Queensland that we introduced them to. So again, it's that sort of level of trust to say, okay, well, this is what I'm looking for. If you make my search easier, it will, help me understand that when I'm moving to a different state, that I can still expect a similar level of service from another agent as well. So that's great in itself.
It is, and
so guys,
yep.
Just to position you got. Where are you guys in Sydney?
Sure, so,
Norwest.
Yeah, Norwest. So Hills District is our primary pocket. However, we've got a good cross section of a number of cities and suburbs throughout Sydney that we operate in. And the reason why that is obviously we started off as a mortgage broking company. So the mortgage broking business was first. A lot of our clients had properties throughout Sydney. So we ended up managing properties in Southwest, in the West, and so on. So we've got a good cross section of the number of what the trends are like with some of the tenants, from a sale perspective as well for some of these different suburbs.
Yeah, great.
And what type of trends are you seeing at the moment? We touched on just with the building home incentive that was brought in. What are you guys seeing there?
So with the home builder grant, it's going through the roof. So basically, with plots of land anywhere ranging from 270 to 350 square meters, we can't find registered land. So since the scheme has come out in place last year, it's gone through the roof. So
and what was the scheme in bullet points? Just in case, what was the scheme in bullet points, just for people who are not aware of it?
So if you're building a new property, the build date has to be by 31st of January. So initially it was 25 grand, now it's gone down to $15,000. So which we have seen a surge in mortgage applications, which we're discussing offline as well. So house and land packages up to 750,000 is unbelievable. So places like Box Hill, for example, if we was talking at the start of last year, we couldn't offload the block of land. Now you can't find block of land there. So it's been unbelievable. So obviously for the first-time buyers, even we've seen established dwellings, customers that have established older houses, they are selling those houses and getting newer properties and taking advantage of the scheme, as long as it's their principal place of residence.
What about the renovation part of it? You know how there's buying a property, but also renovating. Did you see an uptick in people renovating, taking cash out of the property and then renovating, or was it mainly people just selling and buying new?
Yeah, mainly selling and buying new, because with the renovation, that scheme was you had to spend $150,000 to do the renovation to get the rebate from the government, and the property could only be priced up to 1.5 million. So that's like a major renovation. So a number of the clients that we spoke to, their properties were higher priced in the higher price bracket between 2 to 3 million. So and if they would have spent 150 grand, they wouldn't have got the rebate. So that kind of negated that scheme. So we've seen the influx in the first-time buyer market, which has been massive. And mortgage finance in the last 2 or 3 months, some banks have got turnaround times anywhere up to 40 to 50 business days, which is unbelievable. So if your buyer's out there at the moment, I would strongly suggest you to get your finance application approved, depending on which lender you go to. So I know, for example, some of the major banks are taking 50 days plus, and some, it's pretty. So
that's 50 days to get a pre-approval.
Correct.
Business days.
Business days. And sometimes, if the information is not provided up front, if there's a second or third touch involved, it could take up to 3 or 4 months. So just be mindful out there, and speak to whichever mortgage broker speak to, just to make sure the turnaround times.
But the good thing
is, obviously, if you're a platinum broker, which we are, so depends who you're talking to.
So that just highlights the importance of knowing who to speak to, especially that there's a lot of customers who still just walk down to the bank and they don't know what a broker is, don't value a broker, more the understanding. They could be walking into a place that will tell them it's going to take them 6 weeks to get pre-approved, and they think that's normal.
And they think that's the golden rule.
Because if CommBank tell me it takes 6 weeks, I just assume that's normal. But then you speak to a broker, you're like, well, out of the 50 people who can do a deal, it's normal for 6 who basically don't want to give you money, but then there's 20 that could do it in a few days if you're at that level. So it just highlights the importance. Mark, what were you going to say? You were going to jump in.
I can't remember. Say that again.
Sorry? Yeah. Also, I think why the turnaround times have blown out is because the number of the cashback campaigns that are on offer from the major banks, ranging from up to $4,000 per refinance. So there's a couple of banks out there that are giving $2,000 to $3,000 per property. So if you have 5 or 6 properties, that's a major cashback boost you got, plus you're getting extra interest rate on the market. So a lot of customers are looking at the current interest rates as well, just to make sure they get the best deal, rip equity out so they can buy the next property.
Do you have to change bank as well? So
you have to definitely change.
If you guys told me we're going to be getting, if you guys told me the banks were going to be giving cash back 10 or 20 years ago, I would have laughed. I find it just amazing they're doing cash back. Big 4 banks.
Banks are hungry at the moment.
And you're talking about assessments as well, people getting more money. We always love to hear that. So do you want to go through that?
Yeah, so the assessment rates have been quite high. So it's been with a 2.5% buffer on top of the actual interest rate normally, which with the interest rate was the assessment rates earlier last year were up anywhere up to 7.25%. So even though the interest rate was 3.5%, the customer had to service their loan on 7 to 7.25, which was killing the serviceability. Now the assessment rates over the last year have come down considerably. There was another change end of last year, which we have seen borrowers being able to borrow more than they would previously. So basically, if they could borrow X, Y, Z, now they can borrow 50 to 100, 150,000 more, which can potentially get them in their dream home, which thought was out of reach previously. So we've seen that as a massive game changer as well. So we're doing serviceability on a number of our clients, which previously thought they couldn't buy that property.
And that's huge. Yep, go Mark. Ali.
For anyone who remembered the legislation last year, there was a big announcement made by the Reserve Bank saying that they were going to be easy. Everyone had a bit of a laugh and said that's not going to happen. By the time it is, it'll be maybe a year away. That was about mid-year, but you're saying in about November you started seeing that really free up for people, and you're saying that if you've had an approval mid-year last year, you most likely will get more money out of the banks if you resubmit now.
Depending on which bank you go to, 100%. Yep. And living expenses have been changing over the last couple of years as well. There's quite a bit of scrutiny on living expenses. But overall, what we have noticed, the serviceability calculators of most lenders has improved.
And that's huge. Like for anyone that was looking, especially the first home buyers who are generally pretty picky for what they're looking to buy. And there's a lot of time where they're 10 grand off, 20 grand off. And it's not as easy to get. Like your answer, if you're off, is a bigger deposit or a higher income. Income's the biggest killer. I reckon it's the silent killer. People just think of what they're saving. They think of the grants. Like, put it this way, if you're traditionally, you do the $25,000 grant, 5% deposit. But if it's normally times 6, your wage is your loan, then you're really capped at, say, $400,000. And especially Northern Beaches, a lot of properties is basically start above that. So they can't necessarily save a bigger deposit, and the income, they may be entry level at their job. It's not as easy to go, hey boss, I need to get a raise from 60 grand a year to 20 grand a year so I can qualify for a loan of 450, 500. So I think it's probably a silent killer, which a lot of people overlook, that serviceability, that income ratio. So that's big. So you're saying from November last year, so that's not that long ago. Basically, anyone who tried to get a loan prior to end of last year should probably re-look at it and not have your heart broken if you just couldn't qualify.
Yeah, definitely. I would double check with your bank or broker to get the serviceability correct. So, because you could get in the property they really want, which you couldn't get last year as well.
Yes, Mark.
Have people's changing patterns have significantly changed in the last 12 months? They're not travelling overseas. They're probably not even getting out of as much. Have banks changed that in their assessment of people? Because I know that a lot of people that I speak with, they're saying they are saving more money. They don't have to spend as much money to live. Have the banks changed that in their assessment policies?
We thought they would, but to be honest, the living expenses are quite heavily scrutinized at the moment. The banks have set their benchmarks. We haven't seen a loosening of that policy just yet, but I think it should be around the corner, because you are correct, Mark. A lot of consumers are staying out at home and not spending that extra money on transport, eating outside. So yes, there is a shift there, but not seeing the calculators at the moment. Also during COVID, obviously some industries have been hit harder than others. So banks were a bit more conservative. They were shading, bonus income, overtime income, double shading. We had to provide extra commentary, which we have started to see a bit of relaxation towards the end of last year as well. So what the feel that we get out there, banks do want to lend as long as there is deal on the table to be done.
And then the risky industries such as migration, for example.
Migration, hospitality, airlines, yes, that is still heavily scrutinized. So
tourism, hospitality.
So the banks want to see confirmation. What's your business plan? When will your industry return back to normal, and so forth?
But there is reluctancy to.
There's still reluctancy in those industries, obviously due to the recent COVID outbreak again. So so you've got to be careful. Also, obviously, if you're in that industry looking to get finance, the deal has to be structured properly. Submitted correctly. correctly.
And Mel, how has social media been the last sort of 3 months, and what's your plans for yourself and the company moving forward? You guys have had huge success and traction through your social media channels. Did much shift through COVID the last 6 months, and what's sort of going on? What's anything planning forward with your podcast? You're doing your live videos. Tell us, for a lot of people who may want to get started into social media, you guys do stuff really well.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, in terms of property inquiries from buyers and tenants, definitely very strong. Every time that we are posting properties, especially live videos, which we know that gets a lot better cut through. But the transaction from actually checking it online, commenting on it, and then coming to the property, that conversion rate we've seen increase. So it's definitely, on its way up. So that's a great trend. In terms of what we've got coming up, the podcast will be starting again, and hopefully we'll be able to have them in the office, which sort of just sets the whole mood of having that the round table, having the
more conversation.
There. That's right, more conversation, which is how the business page actually established itself in the early days, when we were sort of in the lower hundreds of followers, to now to more than 2,500, nearly 2,500 followers. That's where that bulk of following increased due to those podcasts. So they're coming back on the market. That's definitely something from our business perspective that we've seen a good influx of, and just getting the brand and the exposure out there. So that's that. What else would you say? Anything else?
Yeah, social media has been massive for us. I think what it's done is build trusted relationships. So
that's
obviously there's a lot of consumers out there that do follow you, and you realize that over a 6 to 12 month period. So just see the consistency, authenticity, and you're doing live streams, which I think it's real deal.
So the main things that we've seen is that the conversion rate, because of the consistently putting these videos and photos and the properties up on social media, that conversion rate to coming into the open homes and then buying property has increased.
Because a lot of the consumers out there do have these questions, but they're sometimes shy to ask. So when they get all these answers without them asking the question, I think that's a game changer.
And then me commenting on your page pretty much every single day is also helping our followers as well. That, what are these guys on today?
Well, that's right as well. I remember Lisa always telling me, she said, like other agents post, comment on it, because when you think about it, obviously in a nice way and friendly, and it's like, if you've got 10 buyers looking at another agent's comment and then you say great listing and they see you're an agent, they're generally going to click on your page as well. So, and then they're looking that way. So, I think there's something wrong with that as well. And I reckon it's good. And we all want it. We all want that traction. We all want that momentum. Have you been using groups and Facebook Marketplace a lot?
No. So I stopped using that, but I still had a pretty good response. So that was something that I changed. And the reason I changed was a lot of for example, for rental properties, some of the legitimacy of those comments, they weren't the greatest. So I found better traction from those that were the normal posts that were being shared either on so not marketplace, but other groups that would be interested. So those, for example, first home buyers in Australia, for example, that group that's been
as a powerful group.
That's right. So some of those kind of groups are great, but in terms of marketplace, I felt that I would get a lot of interest, got a lot of inquiries, but the conversion rate wasn't there. So I stopped doing it.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add, Mark, or anything you guys and Mal, Gerda? Anything else you want to add? We could go for so long. It's mindful.
I know. When do you stop?
I think we've got a good amount in, really brief. Mr. Nova.
I just want to say thank you for your support. You guys, I think our customers, we're in the northern beaches of Sydney, and I think that from our particularly online relationship that we've had with you guys, which is, it's helped our customers, and I find that, as agents, there used to be franchise groups when I started in real estate that used to help each other throughout the state, and I found that we've got this with you guys and some selected agents across the state in different areas. So we got our relationship to thank for that. We got online our social medias to thank. That's how we met. We got Tom Panos, most important, to thank for that. Probably the best real estate trainer in the country, or one of the best real estate trainers in the country. So it's a bit of a celebration. Thank you as well, guys, because it's we've only just begun.
That's it. That's it. Long road ahead.
All righty. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thanks.
See ya.
Take care, guys. See ya. Bye.